Hi, this is Gail with Beaded Jewelry Diva, and today we have a pair of earrings. This is the herringbone wire weaving. So we've got wire woven, also known as wire wrapped earrings, herringbone weave, and I've glammed it up just a little bit for you. This is an easy project. It goes together very quickly, and I think it's a whole lot of fun. If you enjoyed today's video, please go ahead and give it a thumbs up because it does help to keep me encouraged to making videos. And if you don't already subscribe, hit the bell button and get notified when I make new videos. Leave me a comment. Do you like this kind of earring? Is it something that you'd like to see more of? Like, would you like to see more herringbone earrings, or would you like to see more wire weaving earrings in general? Or let me know what you think. Anyway, go ahead and leave a comment down below. All right, let's go ahead and see what it takes to make these earrings. For supplies we will need, I've got 2 pieces of 20 gauge wire. These are about 3.5 inches long. I need a set of earring findings. I have 2 large beads. These are about 12 millimeters in diameter, but you could use something larger or smaller as you wish. I have 2 largish heshy shaped beads. They're about 8 millimeters. 2 6-millimeter round beads. I have some fire polished. This one is 3 millimeters, 2.5 millimeters, 4 millimeters. Let's see. I have some just little heshies, miscellaneous. I think I mentioned the head pins. I'm using bald head pins. You don't have to. I have some 26 gauge wire. I'm going to use it in a darker shade so you can see against the lighter. I have a pair of round nose pliers, a pair of chain nose pliers, and a flush cutter. I think I covered it all. Let's get started. We will start with our piece of 20 gauge wire, a round bead, and our 26 gauge wire. And I've cut about 2.5 feet. Start by wrapping around the 20 gauge wire twice. And this tail end I'm going to end up cutting off, but before I do that, I need to go ahead and slip on my bead. So here we go, got the bead on. Now, to do this, what I like to do is I like to kind of curve out the wire some. At least with this particular wire, it's a little bit springy. So to prevent it from kind of getting any kinked looks, I go ahead and do it that way. Now we're going to start the herringbone. So we go over the top of the 20 gauge wire, wrap it around nice and close, and then we'll go, or kind of bend it out a bit, and then go back to the other side, go across the top, and don't catch this wire, but go across the top, wrap it around once, and that is the end of our first set. Now let's go ahead and get rid of this little guy. So just take a pair of my flush cutters. I make sure that I am away from all the other pieces of wire. You saw my one video where I cut the cord instead of cutting the excess, you know what I mean. Alright, so we're looking like this. I'm going to go ahead and bend the top of this a little bit so I know that this is where I started. So that helps me count my number of sets of herringbone that I do. So I went ahead and smoothed out the wire some. When I lay it over, I'm going to lay it behind the first one. So if you need more help with herringbone, go ahead and watch my herringbone tutorial. But here's the end of this one. I went across the top, smooth it out some, and then again I go behind this one. Across the top, over, and around. Now I'm going to do this 6 times. So let me come back after I've got all 6 of these done, and then we'll go to the next step. All right, I've gone ahead and done 6 sets of these. And again, I know I'm at the full set because I have my little bend at the top. Now we're going to start putting on the beads. Now, depending on how big your bead is and how many wraps you've done on yours, You may need a different number of beads than what I'm using, so go ahead and play around with this just a little bit. But let's see if I can get this closer for you so you can see it. All right. For this, I am going to start by putting on 4 of the 2.5 millimeter beads. So these are fire polished. I think these are called Atlantic or Atlantis green or something along those lines. But they're a real pretty sea green color and terribly hard to get on. All right, now I'm coming up to a 3 millimeter bead. Then I'm coming up to a 4 millimeter bead. And again, these are all fire polished. And this is a matte iridescent, oh, what do they call it? I don't remember. I'll have to put it down below. The style of the color. All right, I've got another 3 millimeter bead. And then I'm going to add another 4 of the 4 millimeters. Or excuse me, 2.5 millimeters. 1, 2, 3, 4. I know it's so exciting watching me do this. But I'm not going to make you watch the other side. I'll do that off camera. All right, I've got them all strung on. And what you want to do now is you just want to go ahead and check it. Check to see if you've got enough beads, if you've got too many beads. You should be able to go ahead and go all the way to the end. And if you can't, like for some reason mine don't want to seem to go, probably because I'm missing a bead. So before you decide to go ahead and wrap it, double check it. Okay, so yeah, that fits a whole lot better. Now I'm doing the traditional one. I'm going behind all these other wraps. So behind and then wrap around, just like normal. And then you're going to do the same thing on the other side, but I'll give you a little tip on what might happen on this other side. All right, so I've got all my beads added. Now I want to say one thing. One time when I made this, I had to add an extra bead up here just to make it even, to make it so that it crossed at the right spot. If that happens to you, don't stress about it. Just go ahead and add the extra bead and you'd be surprised. It'll end up looking nice and even anyway. All right, so I'm wrapping it around a couple of times, taking my set of chain nose pliers, squishing that down. I'm making sure that everything is behind. So I've got it behind. There we go, behind there. And there we go. Now's the time to go ahead and move my little piece of wire to the back. Take my flush cutters and then go ahead and make sure that it's not got any pokies. Time for the closed loop, I guess. So I'm going to take this, actually what I'm going to do is I'm just going to bend this over. Then I'm going to pick a spot on my round nose pliers that I think is going to be about the right diameter for my loop. And of course I do this horribly on camera. So here's my loop. Going to make the cut, and always remember that your flush side of your cutters should be facing the wire you plan to keep. So there I go. And then close it up. I'll fix that. That looks a little wonky, but I'll fix that. Now I'm going to do the same thing on this side. After I do that, then I'm going to come back and we will work on the dangle and then putting the earring on, or the earring finding. All right, time for the dangle. Now I've got a ball end head pin, and by the way, you don't need one this long. It's just, that's the way they came. You can use a regular kind of head pin as well, and a 2-inch would work fine. I like to lay out my beads in whatever pattern I plan to use. So I'm going to pick up my silver bead first, and by the way, I found out this is called a rainbow etched fire polished bead. So there you go. I've got that. Then I've got my Heshi type I've got one of these little spacer type dealies. Technical terms, right? My 6mm round. Another one of these little spacer type dealies. And then I'm finishing off by one of my 2.5mm fire polish beads. So this is the way it looks, and now we are going to create a wrapped loop. So I take my pliers, I grab it right above the end of that little 2.5mm bead, bend it over like that. Take my pliers and move them around a little bit. Because what I'm going to do is I'm going to flip my wire over the top of the pliers. Take the pliers out, move them back in, and then bring this wire around the front. So it looks like this. Now, in my particular case, I like to take another set of pliers and use my round nose for leverage and take these and wrap around. Now, how many times you wrap is going to depend on how big your neck was. Mine wasn't too terribly big, so I'm only going to wrap around like 1.5 times. But you do whatever it is that fits your beads. So cutting it and then squishing that tail in so it's nice and even. I think I got it. All right, time to put it on, put it all together. So I've got this. This is the back. How about the front? Here's the front. I'm going to take this closed loop. I'm going to open it by pushing it to the back. So I'm kind of pushing it to the side. I'm not pulling it out. I've got this. I take my little dangle, put it on, and then close this back up. And again, just bringing it in. There we go. Now to finish off our loop, if I can, or finish off our earring loop. All right, finish off our earring. So I've got my kidney wire earrings. So if you saw that video a little bit while ago, I'm using these because these are a little bit heavier, and I put it on backwards. How do you like that? For some reason, I always seem to do that with earrings. I put them on backwards first. Does that ever happen to you? But anyway, these are a little heavier than, well, I mean, they're not really heavy. But I like to go ahead and use a kidney wire or something like that just to keep it a little bit more secure. So here's the set of earrings, and you can see that they have a nice movement. They have a little bit of sparkle. They have the herringbone for interest, and these are just a whole lot of fun. Well, I hope you've enjoyed today's video. If you have, please go ahead and give it a thumbs up and subscribe. Hit the bell button, and I would appreciate it. This is Gail signing out for the day, saying have yourself a beautiful day. Bye.